What's up, everybody? Welcome to Garden Sound 365. My name is Garden Sound. This is the show where we write music every day for a year. Today is Saturday, December the 10th, 2016. I'm going to be playing a show this evening at the fairgrounds in Atlanta, Georgia, at Anti-Fest. I highly encourage anybody who's into experimental music or into noise music to go check it out today. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be some very interesting acts. I'm excited to be there. I'll be staying there as long as I can. As long as I can keep my eyes open, I'll be there. I got a request for, well, I've gotten several requests for music. In fact, we need to come up with a way to keep track of all these requests. So I need you to do this. Comment on this video and make sure that you let me know again what those are, because I'm going to be starting a Google document, a spreadsheet, to keep track of all this stuff. And I'll be honest, I don't have time to dig through all the different comments and stuff of people requesting things, but I know there's some people out there who have requested things, and I want to make sure I get to them. So if you do me a favor, comment on this video, let me know what your request is, like what style of music, or if it's, I think there was a request out there for Zelda at some point. There was a request out there for a tutorial on, see, I just can't remember. I am going to be covering a request that was suggested to me by Richie Music, and that is how to make your snares sound a little bit more fat and present, to give your snare drums, your claps maybe, whatever your 2 and 4 sample is, to give those a little bit more presence in the track. So today I'm going to be writing a vaporwave track. I'll be honest, what I did was I stayed up last night listening to Blank Banshee and playing video games, and so I've got Blank Banshee in my head. In fact, that's going to be today's turn up. You know, look for that link below for today's turn up. I'm going to do a time lapse up until the point where I'm starting to mix the track, and then I'll stop the time lapse and go over how I'm making my snare drum sound the way it does. Alright, so I've got my track all composed out, it's good to go, and now I'm ready to mix it. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different tracks, 6 different channels of instrumentation, right? I've got horns, sort of a pan sound, like a melody, right? Like a steel pan. I've got stabs from the Proteus, I've got an arpeggiator from the Virus, 808s for the drums, and then a Fallen Sign subwoofer, subwave that John Curry actually made. I use this particular subwoofer a lot. I hope he's not mad at me for doing it. He just makes incredibly good patches, and so yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I tend to abuse this noise, but it's just such a good noise. What we want to do here is actually mix these instruments in such a way that we have level drums. Now, in order to do that, and to make my snare sound as fat as possible, I'm actually going to break it out from the 808 chain. So you see here, this is an Ableton default, and what it does is there's an audio rack where all of these different samples are contained, right? So what I'm going to do is actually take out every single one of these little tracks that isn't being used. So you can see now that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got a kick, snare, hi-hat closed, and hi-hat open. Now, in order to accurately mix these, what I'm going to do is end up taking the snare into its own channel and taking the hi-hats into their own channel. So here's what I'm about to do. Sub back here. Now I'm going to relabel these. So this is going to be called kick, snare, auxiliary. Okay? There we go. So I'm going to take these channels, make them the same size as my other tracks. I'm kind of crazy about the way they look. Okay, so we've got kick, snare, and auxiliary. So what I'm going to do now is what I did in my mixing tutorial, which if you haven't seen my house mixing tutorial, go check that out. I start all of my mixing out the same way. I'm going to grab everything and take it down to 0. And then I'm going to pick a part of my track that I know has a lot of activity, which is going to be this part of the track right here. I have to mix 2 different places in, one with the kick from the 808 and one with my massive sub. So we're going to start here. This is a massive sub part. I'm just going to turn on the track. It's playing on a loop. So we're not hearing anything because nothing's been mixed in. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my massive sub and mix that in first. Looking for about -9, -10 over here. Okay, we're right there. Bring it down just a little bit. And I'm going to grab my snare and my auxiliary and start bringing those in. Sub's a little bit loud. Auxiliary is a little bit loud. That sounds about right to me. I'm going to pull everything down until I hit -9, -9, -8, something around there. Alright, so let's get this kick from the other part of the song mixed in. Now that we've got this in here, I want to make sure that my snare sounds as fat as possible. Now I'm going to pause the track for a minute. I've got 2 returns that I use all the time. One is Mr. Bill parallel compression, that's what I call it. It's just parallel compression, it's New York style compression. And the other one is just a medium room, okay, it's a reverb plugin. So all I'm going to do is put a little bit of parallel compression on the snare drum and a lot of reverb. Now listen to it. All of a sudden it's way punchier and a little bit louder. Now the reason that's happening is because this medium room compression is giving it body. That's providing more space for the snare drum to actually reverberate and sort of, you can hear more of its resonance. In addition to that, the parallel compression is absolutely smashing the low and the very high ends of that noise, right? And leaving the mid-range for the medium room plugin to actually expand. So we're getting this drastic increase in lower and higher frequencies as well as more body in the middle of the snare drum. Now let's unsolo that and listen to what it sounds like with the rest of the drums. It's going to sound pretty good. Yeah, it's a nice fat snare. Let's listen to see what it sounds like during the Fallen Sign sub bass part. Yeah, hear it? It punches through everything. Alright, so all I did was a little bit of parallel compression. I would highly recommend going to check out Mr. Bill's tutorial on that, and a little bit of medium room reverb. That's all I did. Just added those on the sends. It's not hard. You can do it too. Okay, now we want to mix the rest of the track. I'm putting the time lapse back on.